the biggest risk. The biggest research question is the same. Yeah, regardless like which subfields you are doing, micro and both in micro and macro, the biggest research question kind of is the same. It's about how to increase the happiness level for everybody. Okay, in the market system, how to maximize utility happiness level for everybody, for our whole society. Okay, but recall that the difference between micro and macro is lies on the different research subject. In microeconomics, we learn about individual behavior. Okay, so macroeconomics kind of is the individual-based economics because we learn consumer behavior, producer behavior, and government behavior. In macroeconomics, like we learn them individually. There kind of no uh, there is no kind of no interactions between different individuals. But in macroeconomics, we put everybody together, we put consumer producing and government, different level of government together to build a national economic system. So in macroeconomics, we no longer learn about individual behavior, individual market. We learn the whole market, whole country, whole society. Okay, that is the difference between micro and macro. Okay, and the next step based on your macroeconomics, we learned about in the economics, in the field of economics, the only way to increase the happiness utility level is through consumption. It's through something called consumption. Everybody is a consumer. Okay, everybody into regardless of who you are, what you do for making money. Okay, ultimately you need to spend your money for purchasing something, either goods or services, whatever you want. Right, to increase, professionally speaking, in order to increase, maximize the utility level, happiness level. This is the only way to increase utility in the field of economics. Okay, the only way to make you get more happier, okay, is to spend your money, to purchase something, whatever you want. Okay, so in the context of the macroeconomics, if you want to ask or how to increase, how to maximize the utility level, happiness level for everybody, for the whole society, is a kind of to put this in another way. Is a kind of we are asking kind of as if we are asking how we as a government, how we encourage more consumption activity. Right, this is a really same questions, right? If we ask how to increase, if the biggest research question in macroeconomics is how to increase, maximize the utility, same question if we ask same question in the context of macroeconomics. Okay, as if we are asking how to encourage, how we encourage more consumption activities. Okay, so now based on your microeconomics, based on your macroeconomics background, so we need to think about what kind of conditions under what kind of conditions people, consumer are willing to spend their money for purchasing something and for purchasing more quantities. I guess the very first condition for more consumption activities is more production, right? If I want to like buy an iPhone, really is a very fundamental condition is all the Canadian producers, they can produce iPhone in Canada. So Canadians consumers, the next step, they can purchase, they can buy, they can consume iPhones. So without the production, how come the consumption can be happen, right? So the production really is really is the first very important condition for increased quantity of consumption. Okay, so if as a Canadian government, if you can encourage more production activities, then the consumption also can be increased. So number two, in macroeconomics, we learned about this. If people can't care about price, as a consumer, when you do a consumption decision, when you make a consumption decision, so we need to consider about the price level, right? We need to consider about the price level. But one difference is in macroeconomics, we kind of consider the absolute value, the absolute level of a price of a good and services. What do I mean by absolute level? Or like the price of a bubble tea is at $10. Okay, so I write down here $10. Like the price of a bubble tea is at $10. So the number here, $10, is called the absolute level of a good. Okay, but what I want to say is that people with different income levels, right? I said at the beginning of today's lecture, in macroeconomics, we research, we learn about the whole economy, whole market, whole society, whole country. Okay, in Canada, US, and in China, we have a lot of different consumers. We have a lot of individuals involved can be concluded in this big real national economic system. Okay, so different consumers they kind of have different feelings about this price signal. So $10 can be considered the price signal. That the bubble tea prices at $4. Okay, but different people with a different income level kind of have different feelings about this price signal. Okay, those people with a very high income level, how they feel about this price signal. They think, oh, $10 for a bubble tea. Okay, so kind of the prices are very, very low. It's very cheap. Okay, if I'm willing to buy a lot, I can. I'm not afford to buy as many as I want to purchase. Right? This is how you feel about this price signal. If you can make a lot of money. Okay, by contrast, for those lower income household, or for those lower income people, how they feel about this price signal. Oh, $10 for a bubble tea. Maybe my monthly income only is $3,000. I think so $10 for a bubble tea is very expensive. So I don't want to buy a bubble tea. Okay, cost me like $10. You see different people with a different income level, they have different feeling about price signal. Okay, so in macroeconomics, we kind of care more about, we discuss more about so-called increasing rate in later chapters, in later sections, we call increasing rate as an inflation rate. So what is the inflation rate? Inflation rate is the increasing rate of the general price level. And so here I write down increasing rate. We don't care more about the absolute value of the price, but we care more about the increasing rate. In later sections, I mentioned can be called as the inflation rate. Increasing rate is about how fast the general price level increases in your country. Okay, next step, regardless your income level, your income can be very high, can be very low. But everybody, even with a different income level, okay, we don't like the general price level, regardless of who you are, regardless your income level, we don't like the general price level increasing so fast. Okay, during a situation in which the general price level increases so fast, everybody reduce their consumption. Why they reduce their consumption? Because the people want to save bigger proportion of their current income for the future consumption. Okay, let's repeat again, okay? If the general price level is increasing, the increasing very fast. Okay, to respond to this very fast increasing rate of a general price level, okay, people, consumers will reduce the current consumption proportion, okay, in order to save a bigger proportion of their current income for their future consumption. So what is the reason? Okay, what is the reason? We have so many different ways, okay, to explain, okay, why people once again reduce their current consumption, okay, during a high inflation situation. Okay, maybe one explain could be, okay, because the people will get retired from their job. You cannot like work long time. Okay, at the age of 65, you will be get retired. Okay, so after retirement, okay, your income will decrease significantly. You stop working after you get free time. So your income decreases a lot. You see, everybody get retired, right? Everybody, you cannot work like a lifelong time. So you need to see at least a part of your current income when you are young for the future retirement life. That is a reason. Okay, that is important. That is the reason why you need to do, every Canadians, why everybody needs to save a part of your current income. Okay, so if the increasing rate, if the inflation rate, if the general price level increasing rate is very fast, so due to the fear of, so how you feel when the general price level increases so fast? You are worried about, okay, after you got retirement, you are worried about the price level. After you got your retired, it could be very, very high in the future. Okay, so you want to save a bigger proportion of your current income for the future consumption. Okay. So to deal with this kind of a concern, so remember the second policy goal of macroeconomics. Okay, as a government in macroeconomics, we need to control the inflation rate. Okay, the goal of our we want to stabilize the price. Okay, because this scenario, we want to stabilize the general price level. We want to control the inflation rate under 2% per year. Okay, that is a goal of macroeconomic policy. Okay, with the general price level, if the price of everything increases, okay, faster than 2% per year, okay, that inflation rate, okay, can be set as a very high, higher than our the bar here, maybe 2% per year. So we want to control, we want to lower the inflation rate under 2% every year. Okay, the third goal of macroeconomics policy is to create, okay, job opportunities, employment opportunities for Canadians, so people can make money. Okay, so people can make money if you can find a job. Okay, if we can increase the employment rate or decrease the unemployment rate. Okay, so if you can find a job, that means at least you can make basic level income. Okay, this is the third goal of macroeconomic policy. Okay, so put them together, okay, this is called three basic goals of a macroeconomic policy. Or we can see macroeconomics, what we will do, we will do these three things. Okay, to encourage more production, to stabilize the price, to control the inflation rate, to stabilize the price, to lower the inflation rate under 2% every year, and create more job opportunities. Okay, so people can get income. Okay, when producers can produce enough, okay, more quantities of goods and services for all Canadian consumers. Okay, and the price level is very stable. Okay, and all consumers, all the households, they can find a job to make at least a basic level income. So put these three conditions together, okay, we can expect is that, okay, everybody are willing to, okay, spend their money to purchase, to buy something, whatever they want. Okay, so consumption activities can be happened. So consumption level increases. Okay, so the overall utility can be increased. Okay, this is our the ultimately as economists, so we want to increase the happiness level for our society. So you see, you guys can see the first chapter, the first part of macroeconomics is called the measurements for economic performance. So basically, the first step for macroeconomics is we need to learn we need to learn three statistical numbers. Yeah, basically three numbers, three statistics for measuring, okay, how will your country did, okay, for these three goals. Yeah, can you like encourage as a Canadian government, can you encourage more production activities? Can you increase the production level? Right, did you like really control the inflation rate very well, like under 2% of every year? And did you create enough employment opportunities for Canadians? Okay, so the first measurement is called GDP. Okay, production level measured by something called GDP. Okay, gross domestic product, for short, can be called as a GDP. So production by nature, production, you guys can understand production is by nature is a quantity variable. Is that right? It's about the quantity. Right, production is about quantity. Like we can produce how many units of the different things we can produce. Like we can produce like 10 gallons of a gasoline. Right, different products they use can be measured by different units. 10 gallons of a gasoline. The three tables, okay, 5 TVs, blah 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 blah, and 1 hour of tutoring services. Right, you see different products and services measured by different units. Okay, so production by the nature is a kind of the quantity variable. Okay, but the different products use different units. Okay, this create difficulty for measuring the production level. Because we are studying macroeconomics in real macroeconomic system. Yeah, people producers they produce a lot of different things, different goods and services, and we mentioned the different goods and services they use different units to measure the quantity. Okay, so the difficulty to do this, to measure the real production level is we cannot, it is impossible to list everything, every goods and services we can produce in this country within Canada. Right, we don't have time, we don't have enough time and resources to count, to directly count, like we go to like as a Statistic Canada. We cannot go to Costco, Safeway, Save-On-Food. We cannot directly count like how many units of different things we can produce. It is impossible to do that, right? You guys can understand this because we produce a lot of different things. Okay, so if we cannot directly count how big is the queue here, So we create something called GDP. So GDP, the definition for GDP is we add up the market price of everything we produce within this country together. We add up the market price, market value of everything, including goods and services together. Okay, sum up the market value of everything we produce within country together is called GDP. So naturally, bigger GDP number means a bigger production level. Lower GDP number, okay, means we produce just a few things. Lower production level. Okay, so GDP, okay, is a monetary variable. We kind of did a transaction here, transition here. Okay, we transition the production level from a quantitative variable to a monetary variable. Okay, the reason we did this transition is we cannot directly count how big is the Q. Okay, but if we add up, okay, everything is price market value together. So we just use one number, one measurement is called GDP. Okay, could it be a precise measurement for the production level? Okay, once again, we just have add up the price of everything we produce together is called GDP. So for this term, I want to clarify three little things, okay, about GDP. Okay, the first one, GDP, once again, is a measurement for production level, but not for final sale. Okay, GDP is a measurement for production, but not for final sale. Okay, GDP is a measurement only for production, not for final sale. So in real life, okay, how many units you produce in real life, most likely it does not equal to the quantity can be traded in the market. Okay, let's have an example here. So I'm a business owner. I'm running my own bubble tea. So in my bubble tea store, okay, I produce 10 units, 10 cups, 10 units of a bubble tea every day. Okay, if I got a lot of customers today, maybe 10 units of bubble tea can be sold out. All the units produced today can be sold out. Okay, but in most days, in most time, okay, maybe I produce 10 units of bubble tea, but only 8 out of 10 can be sold out. So I got 2 units of bubble tea left. So this unpurchased item, like 2 unsold bubble tea, can be called as the inventory. Inventory. Okay, so in this case, if a production greater than sale, I can produce 10 units of bubble tea, but only 8 out of 10 can be sold out today. So the inventory in this situation can be increased. Okay, next business day, on the second business day, I still produce 10 units of bubble tea. Okay, but one ideal situation is that on the second day, I got a lot of consumers. So at most, I can sell 12 units of bubble tea, right? Because on the second business, I produce 10 of bubble tea, but still remember, I got 2 units of bubble tea left from yesterday. So on the second of the business day, at most, I can sell 12 units of bubble tea. So during such a situation, you see the total sale can be greater than the total production. Okay, so in this case, inventory decreases. So what we learned from this two story is in real life, okay, production, okay, does not equal to the total sale. Most likely, theoretically, production can be equal to final sale, but most likely they cannot be. They could. I mean, yeah, most likely they don't equalize to each other. Okay, so this is the first thing. Second thing, GDP is a measurement only for final goods and services. The price and the value of intermediate goods like resources cannot be counted into GDP. Okay, so one example is, if you go to Starbucks, you spend $5. to buy coffee, okay, to buy bottled, yeah, bottled like the final products, the bottled boiled coffee, yeah. And the price is $5. So this $5 can be counted into GDP. Okay, after you purchase this $5 coffee, okay, the Canadian GDP will increase by $5. Okay, but the coffee beans, the price by the market value of the coffee beans, cream and sugar used by Starbucks to produce particular this unit of coffee cannot be counted into Canadian GDP. So which is the reason, like why the value of intermediate goods cannot be counted in GDP? Why the value of intermediate goods can be counted in GDP? Why only the final $5 can be counted in GDP? Because it's a final value, because of the $5, maybe we can call this $5 as the final value, like the price of the values already includes the price is the value of those intermediate goods, right? Also, you guys have learned microeconomics, you know, producers, they want to maximize their profit. Right, the goal of a producer is they want to make money. Okay, so the final price, like $5, must be greater than their total cost, so they can make a profit. Okay, so $5 already include the value, the price of intermediate goods like resources, production factors they used for producing this unit of coffee. Okay, so we don't need to count them again because the $5 already include everything. Okay, so this is a reason we only measure final goods and services, but we don't count the value of intermediate things. There's a third thing. The production activities must be occurred within our nation's border. But regardless, we don't care who actually did the production. As long as the production occurred within Canada, so the value of those things we produce can be counted into Canadian GDP. But we don't care who actually did the production. The people who actually did the production can be Chinese, it can be German, it can be Japanese, it can be Americans. Okay, even though they are not Canadians. Okay, the thing they produce here in Canada, they must be counted into Canadian GDP. Okay, so these are three little things I need to clarify about the definition regarding the definition of GDP. Okay, let's turn to next page. You got the table. So the table can show you guys, how we actually kind of calculate GDP. So we get 2 years data. The first year is called 2012. The second year is called 2013. So in the first year, 2012, we can produce all the Canadians, all the in Canada, within Canada, all the people, everybody produce 4 units of a pizza, 12 units of a soda. And the price was $10 for each unit of a pizza, $2 for each unit of a soda. Okay, based on the definition of GDP, we just add up everything, the market value, market price of everything together. So you got a 64. So the Canadian GDP in 2012 is $64. It's a $64. Second year, yeah, generally speaking, we produce more things, right? Maybe due to the progress we made in the technology level, yeah, maybe due to we discovered more natural resources, whatever the reason, we can produce more things. Yeah, we produce one more units of pizza, so totally we produce 5 units of pizza, 15 units of soda, and the price also change a little bit. Yeah, the price of a pizza is $11. The price of the soda decreased by $1, so down to $1 per unit. So this fluctuations in price level could be problematic, but we need to deal with this problem later. But generally speaking, what we got from this table, generally speaking, okay, GDP kind of is a new concept, GDP, okay, could be a good measurement for the production level. Generally speaking, if we produce more, you see the GDP has been increased from $64 to $70. So more higher level production level, we can get higher level GDP. Okay, so generally speaking, our GDP is a good measurement for the production level. So next step, by the international standard, yeah, most countries in today's world, they release annually GDP data. So they do annually estimation. Okay, so most reliable GDP data is the annual data, is the annual data, like every country release their once per year, like the annual data. Okay, but sometimes in USA, they can do something called the flash estimation. So flash is a quarterly estimation. Okay, but most countries, they release their annual data. Okay, next step, number 3. We have two specific or particular approach methods, okay, to actually calculate GDP in real life. So one is called the expenditure approach, and another one is called the income approach. Okay, two different ways, two different methods for actually calculating GDP. So here you can be very confused, right? Because we already actually calculated GDP here in this table. But like we did the calculation, we calculated like the GDP in the 2012 is $60. We calculated the GDP in the 2013 is $70. Seems like we already able to like calculate GDP accurately. So how come one need to like learn some other ways to calculate GDP? What is the reason? Because the table here isn't the real life, right? Because the table here isn't the real life. We mentioned, we said, right, the real economy, yeah, is a complicated, is a very big, like it's about the whole society, whole country. Like in this big country, like countries like Canada, we can produce a lot of different things. So the table here isn't real life. In real life, we don't only produce only 4% of soda. In real life, we produce so many different things. Okay, nobody knows, okay, what is the accurate number of different things we can produce here in Canada. Nobody have the hard figure. We don't know. Okay, so this table here isn't the real life. So we must come up with some other ways to estimate. If I cannot see to accurately calculate, we need to come up with some other ways to generally estimate, yeah, how big is the GDP. So first one is the called expenditure approach. So the formula here is super important. You kind of need to memorize. Super easy, right? You just add up 4 different parts together, 4 different numbers together to the GDP. So GDP equals to consumption plus investment, labeled by, denoted by I, uppercase letter I, and the current spending denoted by uppercase letter G, and the big X here representing something called the net exporting. Okay, so let's go over all these 4 terms one by one. The first one is called consumption expenditure. Consumption must be the money spent by household. That's it. That's the definition of consumption. Okay, must be the money spent by all Canadian household. Once again, on final goods and services. Okay, like the money, like you and your family, go to Costco, for groceries or for purchasing groceries, like every week, every month. Because the money you guys spend at Costco is called consumption expenditure. Money spent by business on physical asset, asset, physical like a plant, equipment, machineries, and tools. Okay, must be called as investment expenditure. So labeled denoted by the uppercase letter I. Government, different level for government, like the Canadian government, BC government, Vancouver City, how they also buy a lot of things. Like US government, they purchase a lot of weapons for US Army. Okay, so the money spent by government, all different levels of government together is called the government expenditure. Money spent by government cannot be called as investment. Okay, this is a big misunderstanding by the general public. Okay, you heard this from media, seeing something called BC government investment fund invested $5 million to blah blah blah. So actually, this is wrong. Okay, money spent by government. Okay, strictly speaking, based on economic theory, cannot be counted as investment. Only money spent by business organizations can be called as investment. Okay, so we have a specific term, can be called as a government spending, government expenditure, refers to the money spent by government. Okay, so that is a totally different. Net exporting, denoted by big X here. So equals to your exporting value minus the importing value. Okay, we add up exporting value into Canadian GDP. Exporting means foreigners buy something actually produced made in your country. It's called exporting. Okay, by contrast, what is importing? What is imported goods and services? Canadians spend their money on things and goods and services actually made in foreign countries. Okay, so the importing value cannot be counted into Canadian GDP. We must need to exclude importing value, the total importing amount from Canadian GDP, Okay, then we put them together. So exporting, positive exporting minus importing. So the value in these preferences can be called as net export. Okay, so yeah, basically this is a called expenditure approach. Yeah, basically the general idea is we add up the money spent by different people, yeah, together. Okay, it's called is a good estimate of Canadian GDP. Then what is the reason? What is the reason? Some of you may feel very confused. Okay, by the definition of GDP, GDP is the total value of all the things we can produce within our country. But here I also mentioned the GDP is the money spent by different people on the goods and the services made in this country. So actually, this is just two different views, two different perspectives, like how we look, like how we look at how we understand the GDP. Okay, so actually there's a two different things. Actually, it's the same thing, right? The market value, the price of goods and services we can produce it here. Exactly, is the money, is the price all the consumers needs to pay for purchasing the goods and the services produced here. So the market value, from the perspective of consumers, is the money, is the price. As a consumer, you need to pay for purchasing these units of iPhone. Right? This is actually the same thing. Okay, so the value, once again, the market value, the price of all the goods and the services produced within this country, exactly is the price all the consumers need to pay for purchasing these goods and services. Economics is about exchange. So actually, these two terms actually is the same thing. Okay, so it is reasonably to use so-called expenditure process. So it is reasonably to add up everybody's spending together to calculate GDP. So another way is called the income approach to calculate GDP. So to take AP level exam, actually you guys don't need to memorize all the different formulas. I know in some based on some textbook like a Barron's or Princeton review, the textbook teacher gets a lot of like how to calculate something called the national income, personal income, disposable personal income, blah blah blah, a lot of formulas. But actually to take the real examination, we don't need to memorize all those formulas. Okay, we just need to understand a general idea. We need to generally understand like why it is reasonable to use the so-called income approach. Then what is income approach? Super easy. We add up everybody's income together. Could be a good estimation of the Canadian GDP. We add up everybody's income together. Okay, but in real life, okay, you have different ways to make money. Okay, if you have your own job, like you work for a company, every month you can get your wage salary, is your personal income. Like if you don't go to work every day, if you rent out your a building, your land, even your apartment, even your bedroom, so every month you get your rent income. Okay, so if you are a shareholder of a company, so every month you get your dividend. It's a part of the corporate profit. So you have a different ways for making money. We just add up every kind of money you can make, every kind of income you can make, and add up every Canadian's individual income totally like together. We could get a good estimation of GDP. Then what is the reason? Why is that? Why is that the case? Let's come up an example here. So imagine once again, I'm a business owner. I'm running my factory to produce something, to produce, for example, a toaster. Very simple things, just a toaster. And the price of my toaster is really cheap, is $20. I'm a customer, no, I'm a producer. I produce a toaster for $20 for each. Okay, so by producing, so $20 means that by producing, by selling every unit of a toaster, I can make $20. But based on microeconomics, you already learned, right? $20 is called business revenue. as a business owner, you cannot really make every sense of this $20. Because what you need to pay some money to spend money for purchasing those resources, purchasing those production factors. Okay, imagine you spend $6 for human resources because you need to hire workers, people, yeah, human manpower to do the production. So averagely speaking, you paid $6 on human resources to produce every unit of a toaster. You paid $3 to those people who supply the raw materials to your factory. Okay, and you paid $1 for landlord because you are renting the building to do the production. Okay, assuming this is everything. Okay, so the total cost, okay, is add them together, it's $10. So that means 20 minus 10. So finally, you can make $10 for every unit of a toaster you produce. Okay, this is my example. So what we learned from this story is we can divide it, we can break down the price of everything into different numbers. Right? We break it down with we break it down this big number into four smaller numbers like a three, like a $6, $3, $1, $10 here. Okay, and all these numbers actually are incomes earned by different people who involved in this production process. All the people, all the business, all the people who involved in this production process. Okay, as workers, you contribute human resources to the factory. Okay, as the suppliers here, you contribute like raw materials. As the landlord, you contribute the building, the land, okay, to this factory. Okay, as a business owner, you contribute your abilities, your intelligence, you have a good knowledge, you know how to organize, combine the resources, you know how to organize this big business to produce toasters. Okay, so everybody contribute different kinds of production factors to this production, for this production activities. Okay, so everybody who contributed, who production factors who involved in this production can make part of this price. And if we add up everybody's income together, must be equal to $20. You see, so you can understand, we add up everybody's income together should be Canadian GDP. And that is the reason why we use income approach. Okay, and number C, theoretically speaking, okay, we have two different methods. We have two different ways to calculate GDP. But theoretically speaking, these two methods should result in same GDP calculating result. You know, regardless you use expenditure approach or income approach. It should be okay. The results it should be the same. Okay, because we just use a different ways to calculate same indicator. So should be result to lead to a same GDP number. Okay, number 4 is super important. Yeah, when you're calculating something called a real GDP, and when you compare GDP data from different years, often you need to do something called a price adjustment. So let's have an example here to show you guys the importance to do the price adjustment. Okay, let's create a table here. Okay, we assuming we got 2 years of data, 2012 and then 2013. And once again, is to simplify our story, we just assume Canada is a very simple economy. And so in such a simple economy, we only can produce like hamburgers. In the year of 2022, we produced like 10 units of hamburgers. Yeah, 2023, we can double the production, so we can produce 20 units. So based on the quantity data, like the real production level data, 10 units or 20 units. So we can get a conclusion. And you know the conclusion we made based on the quantity data for sure is the kind of the right. Is the correct definition. Is a GDP, is a Canadian economy has been growth by 100%. Okay, because we are doubling the quantity, right? 10 to 20. Okay, so the real economy has been growth by 100%. Okay, but what we learned from macroeconomics is the price, because to calculating GDP, we introduce the price variable into the calculation into our model. But price is not fixed, right? Price is fluctuating. Price can be increased, it can be lowered. Price isn't a fixed number, always is a kind of fluctuating. Sometimes the fluctuation is very big, sometimes the fluctuation is very, yeah, but the price is always is changing. So let's assume the price of a hamburger in the first year, let's see, was $10. Okay, so the GDP in the first year, you multiply 10 and 10 together is $100. Right, so Canadian GDP in the first year was $100. But what happened in the second year is that due to some extreme like factors, like due to COVID-19, due to whatever the reason, due to some natural disaster, whatever the reason, the price of a bubble tea could be lowered and it could be decreased by really, really a lot. Okay, maybe the price of a hamburger, not a bubble tea, of a hamburger has been decreased from $10, let's see, to only $4. It's a very extreme cases, I know, but it could be happen, right? Could be happen, theoretically could be happen. So you see the GDP in the second year only can be only like $80. So next step, based on this GDP data, the conclusion we can make from this GDP data is the Canadian real economy has been lowered by 20%. You see the conflict between these two conclusions we made. So based on quantity data, Canadian economy grows by 100%, but based on GDP data, Canadian economy decreased by 20%. So you see the big conflict between these two numbers. That is a problem. Like the second number here, like 80 here, is a pointless, is a meaningful less. It's a useful less measurement. Right, because the second number here, $80, the second GDP measurement cannot really reflect how the production level has been changed in that year. That is a problem. Okay, that is a problem. That is a problem we need to deal with. So how we deal with is this troublemaker here. going to do some thing called price adjustment. So what is a price adjustment? Because we only have 2 years of data, so we could make the first year as something called the base year. So I circle 2022 here and add a label. So I choose the first year as something called a base year. So what is a base year? Okay, what is a base year used for? We make the price level like $10 in the base year fixed. Okay, we make the price level in base year fixed for calculating something called the real GDP in the following year. So to calculate, to figure out what is a real GDP, what do you mean real GDP? Real GDP is a GDP measurement truly reflect how the production level has been changed in the last year. Okay, so in order to do that, we use the current production level, multiply the base year price level to get what? To get a real GDP, so 20 units times $10 per unit, so you got 200. You got $200, so this is called a real GDP. Okay, real GDP, once again, must be a number truly reflect the real change in the production level. You see, so now you compare the GDP data, right? You can get the same, the right, the correct, the conclusion, right? So the macroeconomy has been increased about 100%. $80 here only can be called as a nominal GDP. Only can be called as a nominal GDP. Okay, so in a country where the inflation rate is very high, where the fluctuation in general price level is a really big number, nominal GDP isn't a reliable measurement for the real production level. Okay, so when you research, when you need to learn about a country where the inflation, like the price level is not very stable and fluctuates by a lot, okay, in that country, you must calculate, you must do this process. The whole process here is called price adjustment. Okay, so we can figure out how the production level truly has been changed since the base year you chose. Okay. Okay, these are two most important things. Okay, two most important things. The first one, two different ways we're calculating GDP. And the second thing is called the price adjustment of GDP. Okay, find 6. We just quickly go over find 6, kind of very easy. So based on the total size of GDP, we can also calculate something called the GDP per capita. GDP per capita just means the GDP per person. You just use the total GDP number over the population size to get the GDP per capita. So this is the criteria. This is the kind of the benchmark, like how we classify all the countries in today's world. Like which country can be called as a developed country and which country can be called developing countries. Okay, so if the GDP per capita in any given country is about, it can be greater than like a $40,000 USD for every year. So this kind of a country can be called as a developed country. So because you guys have learned the expenditure approach and the income approach, right? So you have two different ways. Okay, you have two different perspectives. Like how you look at this number. So first one based on expenditure approach, if you live in USA, Canada, Germany, UK, some Western European countries. If you live in developed countries like we live in Vancouver, Generally speaking, you can spend $40,000 for everything you need: food, clothes, entertainment, everything you need in 1 year period. You can spend $40,000 for purchasing whatever you want. The second way is income approach, right? That means, average speaking, if you don't consider you to spend a lot of money, you need to save part of the money. In Canada, generally speaking, you can make $40,000 USD. This is the average income level per person. Okay, but you guys know that China still is a developing countries, right? Why China is still a developing country? Because of the GDP per person, GDP per capita, the national average in China only is about $10,000 USD. Okay, a typical worker in Vancouver typically on average can make $40,000 per year, but in China, a typical worker in China, the national average only can make 10,000 USD per year. Okay, that is you see there is a big gap, still is a big gap between Canada and China, between China and the US in terms of GDP per capita. Okay, so solely based on this indicator, yeah, China still is a developing countries. And then you naturally you definitely can understand the higher level GDP per person means a higher average standard of living. As we mentioned, in USA, if you live in New York, you can spend $40,000 every year, but in China, you only can spend $10,000 every year. It's also for sure, in general speaking, USA, you can purchase more happiness because the utility you can get in the USA is higher than the utility happiness level you can purchase in China. Okay, number 7 is about multiple choice. Okay, multiple choice will tell you guys some little things, some items cannot be counted into GDP. Okay, not every single items produced here in Canada should and can be counted into GDP. Some things cannot be counted into GDP. Okay, the first category of items that cannot be counted into GDP is called illegal items. I guess you guys really can understand, right? Illegal items. Okay, illegal drugs, like the value, economic value of illegal drugs cannot be counted into GDP. For sure, right? Illegal things cannot be counted into GDP. Okay, the second category of items is called household consumption. What is called household consumption? If you make something with a certain amount of economic value, but for your family members, okay, you do something, you produce something, either goods and services, but for your family members, and they don't pay money to you because there is no market, there is no market system within your family system, within your family. Okay, you kind of just produce something for your family members for free. So this kind of things are called household consumptions. Okay, household consumptions versus some money that cannot be counted into Canadian GDP. Okay, number B is called the second-hand use. Second-hand use, like today you purchase a car, but you are purchasing a second-hand car. And that car produced like 10 years ago was produced 10 years ago. So naturally, the value of this car, the value of this second-hand transaction cannot be counted again into this year's Canadian GDP, right? Okay, C, number C, purely financial transactions, like the money you spend for purchasing stocks, bond. Okay, this kind of thing. If you are purchasing not the physical asset, you are purchasing some financial asset to buy stock, to buy bonds. Yeah, this the money you spend on stock and bonds cannot be counted into GDP. Because this kind of thing is called, once again, it's called a financial asset. Okay, it's not a tangible, like a physical, like a real things produced in Canada. Okay, so this financial transaction cannot be counted into GDP. Why you buy stocks? Okay, why you buy stocks? So if you buy stocks issued by Apple company, you can be shareholder. So you said you can serve it as a shareholder of Apple company. Okay, so you can get a voting right, so you can get a right to get dividends paid by that company. Okay, you are purchasing some kind of a right, voting right, and to get the dividend, like interest, paid by that company who issues the stock. You are not, once again, you are not purchasing something tangible, something real. Okay, so the financial transaction cannot be counted into GDP, and we already learned the intermediate goods. Okay, intermediate goods are also resources used by final producers to produce the final goods. And we mentioned the price of final goods already include the value of the price of intermediate goods. Because the producers, they need to make a profit, right? So they need to make a profit. Okay, so intermediate sales cannot be counted into GDP. Last one is a very similar item. It's called GNP. So for GDP, the restriction for GDP is the other value. We don't care who actually did the production. Okay, as long as the production activity happened in Canada, the value of those things we produce here in Canada should be counted into Canadian GDP. Okay, but what is a GMP? But in terms of a GMP, we don't care about where we do the production. We only care about, okay, who actually did the production. Okay, if you are Canadian nationals, okay, if your nationality is a Canadian, if you are a Canadian registered business, regardless of where you did the action, where you did the production, sorry, you can do the production, you can do the production in China, in Germany, in Japan, USA. Regardless of where you actually did the production, all the value, all the market price of the products you produce, regardless of where you actually did the production, should be counted back into Canadian GMP. Okay, that is the difference between GDP and the GMP. Okay, so this is any questions so far? Yeah, basically, this is everything you need to know about GDP. No questions. Questions I send you guys. Let's do a practical checks to check the in the box. You can get this document. Okay, so let's go to let's just give you this. Okay, if you can find the third question tested in the year of 2007, the third question, question number 3. Okay, give you guys a few minutes. Okay, super easy. You just need to tell me, okay, whether the value of the item mentioned in the question should be counted into USA's GDP in the year of 2006. Okay, I got a response here. Let's see. The value of a used textbook sold through an online auction in 26. No, because it was counted before due to being used. That's right. Because it's a second-use textbooks or second-hand textbook, so cannot be counted into GDP. In that here, rent paid or rent here is that you rent a what? Apartment building, you rent apartment. Kind of you are purchasing some kind of a services, accommodation services. Okay, so rent you paid as if you are purchasing some services. Yeah, so the second one. Yeah. Number C, remember this one, commission. Okay, commission is you paid for the broker to help you to buy stock. So you are paid for some kind of a services. But the money you spend for purchasing stock cannot be counted into GDP because that is a financial transaction. But the commission you paid can be counted into GDP. Because in real life, as an individual investor, you must have a stockbroker in real life. You need to use the platform built by RBC, CIBC, those banks. Yeah, you need to use their some kind of online platform to fill an order to purchase a stock. So the commission you paid for using this kind of online platform, okay, so called a commission. So you are purchasing some services, so commission can be counted in GDP. The last one, no, because it was produced in the Korea, so it's Korea not in the US. That's totally right. That's right. Because we are calculating GDP for USC, not for South Korea. Okay, but the last item can be counted as US GNP, can be counted as GNP, but it cannot be counted into GDP. Okay, that's right. Right. Let's go back to the notes. Okay, let's talk about this gas, how we measure the inflation rate. So inflation rate, recall that the second policy goal of macroeconomics is to control the inflation rate, right? For many reasons. The particular reason we mentioned is, okay, due to the fear of the high price level after you got retirement, after you get retirement, right? So when you are young, you must see a bigger proportion given a high inflation macro environment, right? In that kind of situation, you want to see the bigger proportion of your current GDP, your current income. If you see a bigger proportion, be careful, I'm talking about the proportion, like a bigger part of your current income. So the money, so the proportion, the part of the current income you can use for foreign consumption will decrease. So based on this reason, as a government, as a BC government, as a Canadian government, we need to control the inflation. Okay, we can't tolerate the inflation rate is very high. So let's talk about how we calculate, how we measure the inflation rate. So the first here, so first definition here actually is a definition, formal definition of inflation. So what is inflation? Two restrictions, okay? Inflation refers to a phenomena, refers to a situation in which the general price level sustained increase. Sustained means increases over a period of time. We are not talking about the short-term fluctuations. Okay, the general price level must continuously increase over a period of time. So your question could be how long is the period, right? So different countries have a different standard. Okay, some countries might think, oh, 3 weeks. If the general price level increases another 3 weeks, like 3 months, okay, 3 months, then can be called as can be recognized as inflation. Yeah, some countries may use as a standard, but whatever how long is the standard, you need to understand. AP will not test on that. Okay, but you need to understand, you need to remember, okay, if the general price increase continuously increases over a period of time. The second thing, we are talking about the general price level, and the average price level of everything. We are not particularly specifically talk about the price of a bubble tea, price of the gasoline, price of hamburger, but we are talking about the general average price level of everything. Okay, and then we put these two little things, the two restrictions together. If the general price level continuously increases over a period of time, and the situation can be called as inflation. The second step, inflation rate. Okay, inflation rate or rate means how fast the general price level is increasing. Okay, we can calculate annually inflation rate or monthly inflation rate. Okay, so the third question, third step is you naturally you can understand, yeah, it is actually very hard, almost impossible, okay, to directly to check the price change of everything. What is the reason? Right, it is actually very hard to measure the general how fast the general price level increases. So what is the difficulty? Why I'm talking about, why I'm saying it is so hard, it is so difficult. The difficulty is, once again, same reason, because in the real life, like in this country, once again, we produce a lot of things. We produce a lot of different items, including goods and services. So we cannot once again directly track the price change of everything. So how to deal with this problem? If we cannot directly check the price of everything, so how we can deal with this problem? So the answer is we actually don't check the price change of everything. Okay, we just focus on those goods and services. We just focus on something called the typical goods and services. If we cannot check the price change everything, we just choose some typical goods and services, okay, to check their price change. Then the next step, what kind of thing can be recognized, can be viewed as the typical goods and services. So we need to build something called market as a cake. We just consider, okay, what are those commonly purchased, okay, repeatedly purchased goods and services commonly purchased by a typical urban Canadian family. Typical here, so typical here means the family can make average level income. We don't consider those very rich people. We don't consider those homeless people. We just consider a middle class family and living in the urban area. And usually the typical size of a family in Canada is 4. Okay, so your mom and your dad and the 2 children. So usually the typical family size in Canada is 4. And as a family, the whole family can make average income level and they live in the urban area. Okay, we just this is called a typical family. We just need to consider, oh, a typical family, a Canadian typical family, in order to maintain the basic living standard, what kind of things they need to, they usually need to buy, okay, to maintain this basic living standard. Okay, we just choose these goods and services typically rapidly versus by a typical family into something called a market basket cake. So you see the definition of a market basket cake here is a fixed list of consumer goods in given proportions. Okay. Typically purchased by this kind of a family. So we don't need to check the price change of everything. Okay, we just track the price change listed into the on this list. Okay, listed into the market basket. Usually there are 400 to 500 items. Okay, in a market basket. Okay, so the problem has been solved. Okay, we don't need to, for example, we don't need to check the price change. We don't need to care about the price change, for example, diamond. Because we don't need to usually buy a lot of diamonds for our daily life. Okay, but usually we purchase, for example, orange, vegetables, like a beef, like a tomatoes, like all these daily use things, like a daily, like the fruits and the clothes, just a daily use things into the market basket. Okay, so then we can calculate, yeah, what is then we calculate the average price of this daily purchase products. We calculate the average number to represent the living cost in Canada, to represent the price of to represent the general price level. So let's have an example here. So let's assume a very simple market basket in which we only buy two things. Once again, a typical family. Okay, middle class family with average income and the living urban family and the size of family is 4. So under these conditions, we assume to maintain a basic living standard, we need to buy, for every month, we need to buy 5 units of cheese and 8 units of cracker. You see, in all these 3 periods, in the January, February, and in March, in these 3 months, we buy a fixed market basket. Okay, fixed amount and a fixed item. Every month we buy 5 cheese 8 crackers. Okay, in the January, in the first month, okay, the price of cheese was $2. The price of crackers is $1.25. Okay, we just calculate. That means, oh, in the first month, in order to buy a standard fixed market basket cake, you need to pay $20. Right? You add up the price of everything together is $20. And the next step, in order to easily calculate the inflation rate, later I will show you how to calculate inflation rate. The next step, we want to indexing, we do something called indexing. The price you paid for purchasing this standard market basket. Indexing. So what are you doing by indexing? We want to use an index. Okay, index just means a number to represent the current price, general price level in the first period. Okay, and the index we calculate is called the CPI, is called Consumer Price Index. So Consumer Price Index, you see the formula here. Just use this formula. So you use the total cost this period divided by the total cost in base period. And times 100. Okay, so you do just use as a formula, you do 20 divided by 20 times 100. So you got 100. Okay, we just use this number. So now it's called 100 to represent the general price level. Okay, so here we don't use the raw data to calculate the inflation rate. Instead of that, we use an index. Okay, instead of that, we use an index, like a so-called consumer price index, to represent the current general price level. Okay, so currently it's 100. Okay, like from 0 to 100, how you rate the general price level, like the current general price level is 100. Okay, that's okay. Okay, it's 100. Okay, next step, you see the price of these two things. The price of these two things increase a little bit. So price of a cheese increased from $2 to 2.25. Okay, the price of a crackers increased from 1.5 to $1.25 to 1.5. You see the price has been increased a little bit. Again, they use the same method. You calculate, you add up everything. The price together is 23.25. And you do the indexing again. Once again, to calculate inflation rate, we don't use the raw data. Like a $20 and $23 is called raw data. We don't use this raw data. Instead of that, we need to do indexing. So you do the indexing again using the CPI, the formula again. So you do 23.25 divided by 20. Percentage divided by the cost of a market basket cake in the first period. We assume the first period as a base period. Okay, so you do 23.25 divided by 20 times 100, you got, so the index you got here, the CPI you got here is 116.25. You see, by doing something called the indexing, you guys can easily see, okay, how fast, how big is the change in the general price level, right? Because you just compare 100 and 116 here, you can easily calculate, you can easily get a conclusion showing that, oh, the general price level has increased by 16.25%. The general price level has been increased by 16.25%. Inflation rate usually expressed as a percentage. Right, the general price level has been increased by 16.5%. That is the point for doing indexing, because it is easily to compare. Okay, how big is the change? How big is the inflation rate? How high is the inflation rate? Okay, let's do one more example. In period 3, maybe in the third month, okay, the price has been increased to 2.35. For every units of cheese you purchase, and the price of a crackers has been increased to 1.60. Okay, once again, if you add up the price of everything, $24.25. And once again, we don't use the raw data, we do indexing again. You use the CPI formula again. So 24.55 divided by 20, you must divide by the cost of a market basket cake in the first period, so-called base period. So 24.25 divided by 20 times 100, you got what? You got 122. If you actually do the calculation using calculator, you got the CPI as 122.75. Okay, once again, the point for doing indexing is you can easily compare the current price level with the base period. Okay, so you can compare, oh, the general price level compared with the January has been increased by 22.75%. You see, it is way more convenient for us, okay, to calculate the inflation compared with the base period. Okay, so you can fill these two blanks B and C. So how you calculate CPI once again equals to cost of market-based cake of current period divided by the cost of a standard fixed market-based cake in base period and times 100. So you can finish the indexing. Once you've done the indexing and the CPI in the first period, for sure is 100. So once you've done the indexing, okay, we can easily calculate the inflation rate. Any questions? Most countries, they do monthly estimation. Okay, like we need to measure the price level like more frequently compared with the GDP. So usually we do annually estimation of the GDP, but here we do monthly estimation of the GDP. So how you can get the data? Okay, you just go to the website of the Bank of Canada. Bank of Canada is the central bank in Canada. So you just Google Bank of Canada. So in later chapters, when we do the monetary policy, I will tell you guys, yeah, who is called the central bank? What is a central bank? What is the difference between central bank and a commercial bank? Yeah, if you do Bank of Canada, the home page of the Bank of Canada, you can see in the frontal page of the Bank of Canada's website, you can see the current CPI. Current CPI is a 3.1, so a little bit higher than the compared with the policy goal, right? Because of the policy goal is a 2%. Yeah, we want to keep the inflation rate under 2%. But currently the inflation rate is a bit higher, is a 3.1%. So why the current inflation rate is higher than the policy goal? We will talk about a lot of things about this in later chapters. Yeah, this is really about macroeconomics. Okay, but currently the data is 3.1% per year. Okay, per year. Like how we interpret this number, 3.1%. Okay, that means that the general price level, like the living cost in Canada, increases 3.1% every year. Okay, this is annualized data, okay, every year. And then in later chapters in monetary policy, we will learn about what is called the policy interest rate and what is the relationship between interest rate and the GDP and the inflation. And we will learn all about this in later chapters. Okay, but for this moment, we'll just go back to the notes. And one more thing about inflation is CPI, this kind of theory, okay, this way for measuring the general price level is not perfect. Okay, one major drawback of a CPI theory is the CPI actually is an overestimated number. Okay, so we are using this method. Actually, we are over rating, okay, the rate, like the how fast the general price level increases. The reason is, okay, hopefully you guys can understand. Once you choose as a government, once you choose what kind of thing should be listed into the market basket, the item is fixed over a long period of time. Okay, you cannot change what kind of items should be leased into the market basket like very frequently. For example, in the first month, if you decide to check the price change of a cheese and crackers, that means you should continuously over a very long period of time, maybe in the following 20 years or 30 years, you continuously check the price change of cheese and crackers. So you can get meaningful time series data. So you can compare how the general price level increases. I mean, you cannot like check the price change of cheese in the first year, and in the following period, in the second month, you decide to you switch to maybe strawberry. You cannot compare the price of a cheese and the price of a strawberry because this is a price of a different items. It is meaningfulness to compare the price change of different things. Is that right? So once you done the selection, once you made a decision here, oh, we should check the price change of the cheese and the crackers. You kind of cannot change. You cannot like switch from a cheese to strawberry. You cannot switch to crackers, maybe to soda. Okay, but what will happen over a longer period of time is the quality of those goods and services, okay, could be increased. Okay, due to the better quality, because every year, because we are human beings, so every year we made some progress in our technology. So human being societies, we continuously to increase our technology. So we can produce a better and better things. Right, the iPhone you purchase this year, like iPhone 15, is better than the iPhone you produce you purchased last year, like better than iPhone 14, 13, whatever the model is. You see, consider this quality improvement. It is reasonably to pay for more money. You pay for the quality improvement. Okay, this is a part of the reason why general price level increases, because you are purchasing better and better goods and services with a higher level quality. Okay, but as economists, okay, economists, they cannot measure, yeah, the quality improvement. So considering this, CPI is overestimated number. Okay, because a part of the reason why the general price level increases, okay, is due to is caused by quality improvement. Okay, but by economists, we don't care. We have no ways to count the how big is the quality improvement. So CPI is overestimated number. Okay, we have 5 more minutes. Let's finish. Okay, this CPI, overall speaking, is the first way for measuring the inflation rate, or for measuring how far is the general price level is increasing. Okay, once again, you just calculate CPI for different points of the time. For example, here we did you calculate CPI for the first period, the second period, and the third period, and you do the indexing, and you can easily calculate the inflation rate. This is the first way for calculating inflation rate. We actually, in the field of economics, we have another way for calculating to see how fast the general price level is increasing by calculating something called a GDP deflator. So let's see what is a GDP deflator. If you use the current nominal GDP divided by current real GDP times 100, the result you can get is called GDP deflator. Why is the case? Okay, why the ratio, the result by calculating this ratio kind of is a measurement for GDP is a measurement for inflation rate. We can expand this formula a little bit, right? Because we already learned how to calculate nominal GDP. Nominal GDP equals to like a current price level, right? Current price level. Because this is nominal GDP. Use a current price level times quantity, like a current quantity divided by, because the denominator is a real GDP, right? Real GDP, how you calculate real GDP? Instead of use a current price level, this time you should use a base year price level times Q of a current. And for sure, we do the indexing again times 100. You see, you can cross out these two terms because this is same item, Q current, Q current. So you see, actually GDP deflator just is a ratio, just you use a current price level divided by base year price level times 100. So for sure, yeah, in the base year, once again, the GDP deflator 100. In the basic period, okay, the GDP deflator is 100. Kind of is the original is a reference point. Reference point. In the following months, if you get a GDP deflator higher than 100, okay, that is indicating our general price level increases. By contrast, if you get a GDP deflator like lower than 100, that means what? That means the numerator is less than denominator. That means the current price level even lower than the base period. Okay, so this is called GDP deflator. So we have two different ways. Okay, we have two different ways, namely by calculating CPI or GDP deflator to measure inflation rate. Then what is the difference? What is the difference? The major difference is the GDP deflator ignores the price of imported goods because we already learned how to calculate GDP. When we calculate GDP, we exclude those imported goods and services, right? Because the GDP is a C plus I plus G plus net exporting. When you calculate net exporting, you don't count the price of imported goods and services. Okay, so GDP deflator, when we calculating GDP deflator, we don't count those goods and services imported from foreign countries. Okay, but when we construct, when we choose what kind of thing should be least, we should put them on the market basket cake list. Okay, we don't care about whether the goods or services is produced domestically or made by foreign countries. Okay, so in the market basket cake, okay, Canadian market basket cake could be include those goods and things usually made by foreign countries. Okay, but GDP definitely excludes those foreign made goods and services. That is a major difference between CPI and the GDP deflator. Okay, but one minor difference, yeah, between GDP deflator and CPI, but both is a two so-called price index. Okay, just two different ways for measuring, for calculating, in order to calculate, yeah, what is the current inflation rate from month to month, from year to year. Okay, so if we couldn't finish all the notes number one, so next week we continue, we move on to the next part. Yeah. Yeah, but this is for this week. If you have no questions, we just stop here. Yeah, maybe I will send you guys some practical questions later. Yeah. I need to find some questions to test you about the for calculating the inflation. Yeah, if no questions, bye bye. See you next week.